Good evening and welcome back to the Tony and Tim show. I'm Tony.
And I'm Tim.
Very interesting. We came from a very brilliant weekend of football, Tim, where we saw a lot of football happening. Very interesting games that were played, very interesting results. Things are starting to shape up interestingly in the EPL, but we ended the weekend with a 0-0 draw between Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah, Tony, 0-0, not a result that we wanted to see. At least we wanted to have a goal.
We wanted some goals.
Some goals, Tony. But I thought, yes, both teams actually played. And these are the top performers, Tony, right now in the Premier League. And if they can settle into a stalemate, it means they will go all the way competing each other.
Very interesting. We saw what Liverpool put out in this particular game.
Yes.
It's a very big change for me that Klopp made, especially in the defensive line. I did not see Trent Alexander-Arnold in the starting lineup. That pushed Gomez on the right. We know that for all the solidity he has showed in the centre-back position, he's not the same right back that Trent Alexander-Arnold is, especially going forward.
Yeah, going forward, Tony, you don't get what Arnold gives in that right wing. And I thought maybe that could have caused Liverpool's movement. It was not really well. This Gomez, Tony, is very good in central defense.
What do you think is the thinking behind Klopp? Is it he knew that he had to be solid? Pep likes to play the flying wingers, Raheem Sterling and Leroy Sané. We know that even when it's for pace, Gomez might not be as fast as Leroy Sané. So you ask yourself what Pep might have done, and which I think in the end showed in the result, it messed up a bit of maybe the chances that they would have had if they had played Trent Alexander-Arnold there. But of course for Pep Guardiola, if you look at the starting lineup that he put out, he did not start Leroy Sané, preferring to start with Riyad Mahrez.
Yeah, Tony, we mentioned it that if this guy is, if he chooses Mahrez ahead of Sané, then he has a bit gone cautious in his approach. And I thought, yes, Tony Pep was very cautious in this game, which I think
we saw him conceding possession, which is something that he rarely does.
He rarely does, but Tony, when you're playing a side like Liverpool, it's one of the things you're not going to boss, because even Liverpool wants to possess this ball and hurt you. But I still think, Tony, both teams did not play to their capabilities.
0-0, is it a point gained for any of the teams or points lost?
If you look at the interview, Tony, both managers were happy with the point, but to me, I thought it's a point gained for Man City and not Liverpool, given the scintillating performances Liverpool had over Man City last season, Tony. So,
and of course, we saw Riyad Mahrez missing a penalty at the end of the game, almost less than 5 minutes to go. He had a brief chat with Gabriel Jesus, who has come out to say that he also practices the penalties just as much as Riyad Mahrez, and he felt confident enough to make the difference. Riyad Mahrez missing that penalty and putting it over the bar very, very wildly there, sparking interesting scenes inside the stadium. Manchester City and Liverpool now both on 20 points. They're opening the door for the rest of the chasing pack, who had very interesting results on the weekend, kicking off things on Sunday afternoon. Arsenal travelling to Craven Cottage and beating Fulham by 5-1.
Tony, I did not predict that score. I went for 2-1. I thought Arsenal could win, but not with that margin. And as soon as I saw the goals pouring in, I was like, hang on, and is this the Emery team, Tony? And the look one is able to play around with his strikers. He's keeping the players happy, Tony, benching some, and they're still, I think there's a very good atmosphere. And 2 points, Tony, off the top. I mean, the top three, we've said they all have the same points. This Arsenal side might be the underdog.
Very interesting there. No one probably would have predicted this position for Arsenal after those first 2 goals. They've gone 9 games in a row in all competitions, winning all those games. It's very interesting. Unai Emery seems to be driving his point across to all these players. So it was very, very interesting to see that game. Goals galore, 2 from Alexander Lacazette, and of course 2 from Aubameyang from the bench, and Ramsey as well coming from the bench and getting a goal. Very interesting, of course, Fulham getting that response through Andre Schürrle, that player who's on loan from Borussia Dortmund. But Southampton at St. Mary's is where we saw the other partner that's trying to get crushed, the leading party. Chelsea beating Southampton 3-0. Eden Hazard continuing his brilliant form, and Chelsea now getting themselves into second place, 20 points.
Yep, Tony, they have a good goal difference and leapfrogging now Liverpool because of just goal difference. But again, I mentioned this, that Southampton, Tony, there is something they've lost in them. They're unable to have these big boys. Of course, you've mentioned Chelsea getting a goal through Eden Hazard, and then
Ross Barkley
got the second goal, Tony, and then Morata also coming back to the score sheet
after missing a
yeah, but at least he got a goal, Tony. So look at Chelsea, Tony, and I think they're gelling. These guys are really up there, Tony. And we mentioned only two teams, Man City and Liverpool, but Chelsea could be another surprise package that will push all the way.
Very interesting there. Chelsea now find themselves in second spot after that brilliant win at St. Mary's. Southampton still showing a lack of the ambition that they showed in the past couple of seasons, failing to get those points, any of those points there. And on Saturday, we had very interesting results, kicking things off at 5 p.m. with Tottenham Hotspur visiting a winless Cardiff. That team under Neil Warnock still struggling to get the first win of their campaign back in the big time. Spurs getting out an early goal through Eric Dyer.
Yeah, Tony, we all thought Spurs was going to have a run over this Cardiff side.
Who have considered a lot of goals.
A lot of goals, Tony. I thought Spurs would deserve more, but Eric Dyer came up with the goal. And then as the game kept on going, of course, Cardiff got a red card, no doubt. But still, they kept on pushing Spurs. They would have thought they were going to get an equalizer in this game. But to me, it comes back to Pochettino's team. I think they've lost the cutting edge somehow. Maybe they need Dele Alli back. We know Eriksen is out of that team. So the creativity in Tottenham, I think, is off, Tony.
And of course, the manager has come out to say that people should actually be throwing Tottenham a party. No one expected them to be like this. They didn't make any signings. They're getting a few injury problems into the team. We saw Loris, who had a spell out of the team, and now two of their very creative midfielders are out. So it speaks volumes about how Tottenham are trying to hold up. We know they don't have a substitute number 9.
No.
That's for sure. That's why Harry Kane keeps pushing on, even when he's having a very poor run of form. Of course, he got 2 goals last time out, but we saw how lethargic his performance was this weekend. And the brilliant game of Saturday evening, which got everyone talking, and Mourinho very excited, was the Manchester United game against Newcastle at home. Beating that team 3-2, but losing 2-0 after 10 minutes.
It was actually the second time in the Premier League era for Man United to concede 2 goals inside the first 10 minutes, Tony. I thought it was a brilliant goal taken by Kennedy.
Brilliant goals, if you ask me.
Yeah,
Both the player.
They were amazing goals, Tony. But you would say that if Newcastle don't get the third goal, it gives Man a chance. There's always, when a team gets 1 goal, they easily get the next one. And Mourinho shuffling the team, we saw after 18 minutes.
He was almost like a madman.
He cried out, and then from nowhere he's pushing Matic to the defense. But at the end of the day, Tony, I thought in the last 20 minutes, we saw the Man United of Alex Ferguson, the old age team that could push the result. And Tony, even if this had ended 2-2 or Man U losing it, you would see an attacking side, Tony.
Of course, nothing impresses fans more than a team that's trying, I think. And Manchester United definitely showed that in the second half. Mourinho showed how much he needed this win. He was willing to play. He was willing to play around with the formation. He was willing to throw Pogba at some point into center defending midfield. At some point, he was playing as a third center back. So it was very, very interesting there to see Manchester United getting those brilliantly taken goals. One from Mata, another from Martial, and of course getting a brilliant header from Sanchez at the end, who they're now referring to as the prodigal son, who I think now deserves to go on an international break.
I think he still has a lot to do, Tony, until he starts scoring the Arsenal form. Then only I think Sanchez is back.
Very interesting there. Manchester United getting those critical 3 points. We've had the rumors coming out that he has 7 games to save his season, and this would have been a very big problem if he had lost it to Rafa Benitez's side, who are still in hand of their first win in this league as well. Very interesting results there all along. And of course, it leaves us with the table. Manchester City topping that table on 20 points and 18 goals. That's positive 18 goals difference. Chelsea is second on 20th. 13 goal difference, just ahead of Liverpool on 12 goals, but also on 20 points. And Arsenal, Spurs trying to get crushed that party, both on 18 points. And one more person that's trying to get into the mix is Bournemouth, who have had a very brilliant run of form. Amazing strike line. The players seem to be loving it. They beat Watford, who are in the top 4 at one point. This stage, they beat them 4-0 at Vicarage Road. So that shows you how much what Bournemouth have been doing. So credit to their manager Eddie Howe there. And of course, lots of interesting results all around in the La Liga is where things are taking a turn for a very interesting run of results. Barcelona still failing to win at the Mestalla. They drew 1-1 with Valencia there. Messi getting his 41st goal of the year. And of course, Real Madrid losing on Saturday night to Deportivo Alaves, a team that has just been promoted. So pressure on Julen Lopetegui there. Very interesting. And of course, we'll bring you more on our Facebook page, The Tony and Tim Show. Follow us, like us, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and of course, don't forget to watch our videos on The Tony and Tim Show on YouTube. Goodbye for now. Goodbye.